everyone, it's Alpha Queen, and today is a pretty important video for me because today is Mental Health Awareness Day. I think it's like a worldwide thing, something like that. I'm not sure of the exact name, but when I saw that was a thing, I thought, well, hey, mental health has become a huge part of my life, and if you know me, if you follow my social media, or even if you've seen some of my update videos on my channel, I've briefly mentioned it and some stuff that I've struggled with, but I've never talked about it in detail, and that's because mainly when I was going through the worst of it, I didn't really feel like talking about it. I didn't really feel like talking to anyone for that matter, but now I'm sort of in a decent place, and I want to wait until I was in a better place before I made this video, and what better day to do it than today. I'm gonna try and have it uploaded today. Today's the 10th of October, which is when Mental Health Awareness Day is, but I don't know, it's like 8 p.m. and I'm gonna try and get the editing done, but it's gonna be a long video, so have a look in the description box. I'm gonna have timestamps for different things because I want to talk about some general stuff. So some general mental health awareness stuff, noticing symptoms, general help that you can provide to yourself or even for other people if you know someone that's going through a problem. But I'm also going to talk about my own experience and the sort of journey that I've been on, and well, it's been a long one, so let's get right into the video. So brief sort of history of where everything started for me, or sort of where things went wrong. So typically I'm a really like happy, energetic, optimistic sort of, I'm a happy person. Like, I feel good about things, I work hard, I play hard, and as far as my life goes, I don't have any like major issues. Like, I'm very lucky in a lot of ways, and I have amazing family, amazing friends, great people on the internet that I've met. Like, I'm happy to be me. But that sort of changed when I was hit with anxiety. So this began in March, so the beginning of March, and to sort of set the scene, it was the end of the second semester of my second year of university, and for my course and for a lot of other people's courses, that is like the most hectic time at university like ever. I'm currently in third year, and already it's looking less hectic than it was at the end of second year. And at that time, at the start of March, I fell ill. So it was a stomach bug that I fell ill with, but I was really stressed out because I just felt like I was going to be sick, and I was like, oh my god, I have so much work to do, I have so many deadlines, I'm the group leader of a group project, I have so much work to do, and typically in group projects, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I typically end up picking up other people's slack. So I was group leader of a pretty big group project, and I had to chase people up on a lot of things. We had a huge report due in, and I was managing a lot of it. And typically in group situations, I prefer to put more work on myself to prevent other people from messing it up. And I know that's not a healthy way of doing it, but I'm a very like high achieving student. I always have been, and I wasn't about to let that get in the way of, like, you know, I wasn't about to let group work, if people weren't doing well enough, get in the way of my grade. So there was that, and I had a bunch of solo assignments, reports, so many things, like major deadlines as well that counted for a lot, and that sort of, it made things worse. If I go back to when I was actually ill, I probably had a physical illness for about a week, but then my symptoms didn't go away. I felt nauseous, but not in the same way. Like, I could work and stuff, but I didn't feel the same. I didn't feel, like, every time I would leave the house to go into uni, like, I'd walk down my road, and I'd sort of stop when I turned around because I'd get like this queasy feeling in my stomach, and that sort of happened whenever I left the house or like tried to go into uni. So because it was the end of the semester, like lectures were finished and stuff, so I didn't have to go in for anything else. But I used to go in all the time just to be there and work there, and I don't know, I'm quite social with the people at uni. Like, I'm friends with most of the people on my course, and you know, I like being around people, I like talking to people. So, you know, I was sort of in my room just doing my own thing, and I had a huge long study leave in my exams, and I managed to make it through my exams, barely, but that's sort of how my anxiety started. It was basically because I had this overwhelming stress and I couldn't just let myself get better when I was ill to begin with. So over the next few weeks it sort of developed into more of an issue for me. I just felt, I just didn't get better, essentially. It sort of turned from one illness to another. But I'm gonna leave it there and resume it later when I talk about the whole journey, but that's sort of a background of where my anxiety sort of came from. But it differs from people to people, and I'm going to be referring to a self-help guide that my university actually provided, and it's a more general one. I might link it in the description if I can, but if not, like, trust me, this information is coming from like an actual source. I'm not just talking out my arse here. Okay, so a good place to start with general stuff is, what is anxiety? I can't really talk about depression or PTSD or eating disorders because that's not something that I personally have went through. But for anxiety, it's something that I know a fair bit about because I've researched a lot about it. So people that have anxiety are typically described as worriers, people that are stressed out, people that are unable to relax, or if they're tense and nervous all the time. And that can be true to an extent. But there are different types of anxieties, so it's not just people that worry all the time. Some people are fine a lot of the time and just get worried over specific situations, or if they're in a stressful situation. And an example of that is social anxiety. So this isn't something that I've gone through. My personal example was generalized anxiety, but there's social anxiety, which is anxiety in social situations, so being at parties or being around like large groups of people or crowds. And I'm not sure what the name for it is, but it's anxiety in certain situations. So we all have that feeling, right? So before a job interview, or before a test, or before meeting someone important like your significant other's parents or something, you get that weird like feeling in your stomach. You get like butterflies in your stomach, your heart might beat faster, you might even find it difficult to like breathe properly. Take those symptoms and multiply them to like a great degree, and if you take those symptoms and they last a really long time, or if they come back frequently, sometimes even for no reason, that can be a sign that you're suffering with anxiety. So a typical example of like a physical symptom would be something like a panic attack. So I haven't had that many panic attacks, but there was a period of time where I was going through panic attacks pretty much every single day. And for me, the symptoms of that were like a really fast heart rate. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to be sick. It was basically a hugely exaggerated physical stress impact, I guess. And it becomes a problem where it jumps from just stress, which people can feel on a daily basis, to anxiety, where it physically stops people doing things. And some people, see panic attacks on media and they're like, oh, someone breathing in and out into like a paper bag or something, or they're flailing their arms and they're hyperventilating. A lot of the time that's not the case. Like, sometimes people have a panic attack and they'll just be blankly staring into the distance. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell unless you tried to speak to them or something, and you just wouldn't be able to get through to them because their head is just going crazy. And it's a really scary thing. The first time I had a panic attack, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I'd never experienced anything like it before, and I probably went through that for about an hour, and since then I haven't had as long of a panic attack ever, because if it's ever happened, I've known, okay, this is a panic attack, I know how to get through it. But if you've never gone through it before and you don't know what's happening, then it can be really, really scary. I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, what's happening to me? Am I dying? Like, it felt like I was going to die, and it was horrible. It was like the middle of the night. It was 3 in the morning, I remember. And yeah, it was just horrible. So it can start off as anxiety, just being worried or stressed out, but it can develop into something that becomes a lot more physical. So when people say mental health illnesses are just in the mind, or go outside and take a breather, if you've never gone through a mental health illness, just know that a lot of mental health illnesses cause a lot of real physical symptoms. They're not placebo effects, they're real things that people go through. And if someone says, oh, I can't get out of bed because I'm having like a bad mental health day, sometimes it's not just because they're feeling sad. Sometimes it can be something way worse. And that's not to say that, that's not to like downgrade people that they just feel really down, they don't feel like they can get up. But with me personally, like when I had really bad days, I couldn't get out of bed because if I did move, then my stomach would just turn upside down. It was horrible. Okay, so going back to where anxiety comes from, it's actually normal to a certain extent in everyone, and we all experience it. And it can be tracked back to something called the fight or flight response. And it's something that our body goes through when it sees something that's threatening to us, and certain areas of it sort of shut down to protect us, and it's good in a stressful situation that genuinely causes danger, but anxiety can be caused by, well, it's basically when our body performs it shuts down in places when it doesn't need to, or when it shouldn't, and this can cause a whole bunch of symptoms. I'm just going to display a few on the screen, but it's not just, it's when worrying turns into, oh my god, I can't breathe, or my muscles are tensing up. Like, this isn't something that I've personally experienced, but I know there was someone that I saw online and his back tensed up and he had serious back issues because of it. So I'm going to talk a bit about how you can ease these physical symptoms later. Anxiety is caused by something normal that sort of develops off the charts, and it becomes difficult and in some cases almost impossible to control. So like I've said, anxiety isn't just something that's in the mind. Yes, it can affect the way that we feel and the way that we think, but it also affects how our body works and how we behave. Our mind and our body are really closely linked, so what goes on in here, down to a subconscious level, massively affects what's going on in our body, and it controls things. So when anxiety is going on a conscious level, it can be easier to control because typical methods, like people often say, eat well or sleep more or go outside. That's fine if you can manage things on a conscious level. But if things get to a subconscious level, then it becomes a problem where you physically start being unable to do things. Now, anxiety can be on a conscious or subconscious level, and it can be manageable, but when it gets to the point of being unmanageable, what causes that? And it can be if a person is just generally anxious or they worry a lot, or it can be something that develops into a cycle. And a big issue, which is actually common in quite a lot of people that suffer with anxiety, is having anxiety about anxiety. So people might be worried that they'll have panic attacks. Even if it's not on an active level, their body will just be constantly like, what if I go outside and something happens? Even if there's no real danger at all. So we tend to think of things that aren't really issues, and we make it worse in our heads. And that sort of develops into a cycle, because the anxiety about having anxiety can make your actual anxiety symptoms worse, and it just keeps on going. And once you're in that loop, it's really hard to break out of. But until you get to that point, there's a lot of things you can do. So I have a list of a few things. Some things that people suggested were keeping a diary, so writing down things or noting things that make you anxious, and trying to find ways to relax. So if there's a hobby that you enjoy, for me this would be art or drawing, because that's always like a relaxing thing to me. No matter how stressed out I am, if I just pick up a tablet pen and I draw something, I usually feel better. So for me that's art. For other people, for you it might be, you know, going outside, doing sports, taking pictures, playing video games, hanging out with your friends, whatever it may be. Always schedule time for yourself, and always make sure you have alone time for yourself as well, because being around people all the time, even if you're a people person, I like being around people, but sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. So stepping back away from that, there's absolutely no shame in just being alone. I'm actually very happy with just my own company, listening to relaxing music and just chilling out and doing nothing is sometimes the best thing to do. Also, what else have I got? Taking up a relaxing hobby, I already said. Getting enough sleep is a huge one. A lot of people I know that have mental health issues, not just anxiety, they don't get enough sleep. And a lot of students do this. A lot of people just stay up super late and they go to bed early hours of the morning and they don't get enough sleep. And if they have like a structured lifestyle, like if they have to be at a lecture or a job at 9 o'clock, then if they don't get enough sleep, then it means they have less energy for the next day. And getting into that bad habit of not getting enough sleep and at the right time can sort of screw up your body in more ways, and it can just make things worse. Same thing goes for eating correctly. I don't know, I didn't eat terribly, I just didn't eat much at all, and I found it really difficult to eat as well. But if you can eat, try and eat decent stuff, like basic fruit and veg. Don't eat a ton of junk food either, because it will just bog you down. Even if I'm feeling like happy and stuff, even now if I eat like, if I have a really unhealthy day, I just feel like crap afterwards. So it can be really helpful to keep your diet in check as well. And also, yeah, exercise is a common one. Going outside, going for a walk. If you can do that, it does help. If not, don't worry, I'm gonna talk about other ways that you can get help later. Another one, if you're in a decent place, even if you're not, no matter what you're doing, where you are, whether you're able to go outside or whether you're stuck in bed, meditation is an amazing thing. Now, before I read about this properly, I thought meditation was like, I imagine like Buddhas in a Zen area just meditating next to the sea. It's actually, it seemed like a very, I didn't think that normal people did it on a day-to-day basis, but it's just a method of relaxation. I personally use an app called Headspace. I haven't used it much recently, but it's something that I used to use pretty much on a daily basis, and it's really helpful, and it has a bunch of packs, so they're like between 10 to like 40 or even 60 minutes of like audio clips that you can listen to, and they're basically guided meditation exercises. And there's a pack for all sorts of different things. So there's packs for different mental health issues. So there's a pack for anxiety, and these tend to be 30-day packs, and you go through them and the techniques sort of build up on each other. But yeah, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's a stress pack. There are even packs for like motivation and sports. There's one for pain management, like physical pain management. There's one, there are even packs to help you be more mindful during the day. So there are packs for if you're walking, or if you're cooking, if you're working or studying. And there are really short exercises as well. So if you're going through like a really stressful time and you just need something to just calm you down, calm the nerves, then there are a lot of quick breathing exercises that are just 1-2 minutes long, and you can just go through them, take a lot of deep breaths. And if you have anxiety, learning how to breathe, it sounds like a weird thing, especially if you don't have anxiety. You're going to be shocked, what do you mean breathing? Breathing and knowing how to breathe can make a huge difference between an anxiety episode lasting 2 minutes or lasting an hour. And that app in particular taught me a lot about breathing exercises, but breathing and deep breathing in general is something that a lot of people have done on YouTube. They've done tutorials covering it, and some people have even expanded on it and made like yoga videos about it, which I also found really helpful. I'll link a couple in the description of like the kind of thing that I mean with breathing exercises and yoga exercises, and they sort of just help put your body at rest. So if you're struggling with things on a subconscious level as well as a conscious level, meditation and deep breathing does help to calm your body down, it really does. And you can use those techniques anywhere, so whether you're at home or outside, in a stressful situation, or just on your own, at peace, it can really help. So I'm going to take a bit of a detour now and throw myself back to a few months and start talking about my own story. So I talked about my exams. So I went through my second year of uni. I killed my exams. I actually ended up getting a first overall in second year, which, if you're not from the UK, a first is basically like the highest degree class you can get in terms of grades. So my second years were 25% and I smashed that, so I was really, really happy. But it was kind of bittersweet because I didn't do anything over summer. Luckily, not many people asked what I did over summer, apart from my really close friends who already knew what was going on with me. But my summer was uneventful and basically terrible. The only thing I did was move house, and then short of that I did pretty much nothing. I stayed in bed, I got out of bed, I went back to bed. That's pretty much all I did. I moved house at the end of June, and when I came to my new house, July was, I think the only thing I did was literally watch TV shows. And I drew a bit. I didn't draw much, but I'm gonna go on to mention a few people who have really helped me out. And I'm gonna link all their stuff in the description below. Like, I highly recommend you check them out. They're all amazing, amazing people. And I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for these guys. So, a thank you in advance. But like I was saying, I started drawing, and I came across a guy on YouTube, TWD98, and I used to watch him years and years and years ago. But I sort of stumbled across his channel again, and, you know, I was watching videos every day, so I started watching his, well, some Mario Kart Wii videos that he did. And he sort of died on YouTube. He hadn't really uploaded in like over a year. So I watched some of his old stuff, and I sort of, like, Mario Kart Wii, if you haven't seen my last Q&A, it is one of my favourite games. So I got more interested in it, and I did like some sketches, and I drew a Funky Kong drawing, and I put it on Twitter, and I was like, hey, thanks for the inspo, TWD. And he replied to it, and he was like, wow, that's really cool. And a few weeks later, I think it was the end of July, he messaged me and he said, hey, I'm looking for someone to do a shirt design, and you actually gonna be the first person I was gonna ask. And I was kind of taken away by this because my portfolio, it's decent, the stuff I have on there is good, but it's not, like, you know, there are loads of professional artists out there, and I don't market myself as a professional artist, because I'm not really, it's not my day job, I'm an engineering student. So art's always just been a hobby for me, and for him to sort of say, hey, do my shirts, it kind of took me back, but I was like, yeah, you know what, I mean, the only thing I can do is draw at the moment, so I did. I basically didn't see anyone IRL, but I drew and drew and drew pretty much every day for a week. And that shirt design took me over 20 hours, I'm guessing, and I'm wearing it today. Bam, dodge. It's meant to be Bam Shock Dodge, for those of you that are unaware of Mario Kart Wii logic. But yeah, the Bam Shock Dodge shirt, if you have it, thank you for buying it. But yeah, I drew that, and he constantly made a point of, yeah, there's no rush, there's no rush. And I didn't tell him this, like, I haven't talked to him about, like, my mental health stuff, because why would I? But I said, yeah, it's fine. You know, I have nothing else to do. So once I got that done, I really love this. Like, it's like my child, and it's a representation to me of something that I could do when I felt like I could do nothing. Like, I felt useless otherwise. I couldn't see my friends, I couldn't see my family, I couldn't make YouTube videos, and I couldn't even play League, for example, because I was like, what if I have like an anxiety attack mid-game? Like, the only situation that I can just back off straight away if I need to is art. So, yeah. So going through that, and he absolutely loved it as well. And it was a massive boost to my self-esteem, and it was sort of a reminder to me that, hey, I'm actually worth something. So that went on sale, and over 300 of these sold. I was blown away that people, like, loved the design as much as they did. I had loads of people saying, hey, great work, and it felt good knowing that I did something that was important to him justice. About a day later, I got a message from one of his friends, and he said, hey, I saw that shirt that you did for Troy. I'm a friend of his, and I was looking for some stream graphics. And this guy is called Nick, also known as Enmead. And I was like, okay, I'm not really a graphics designer, but if you really like my art, and trust me, he made a huge point that he really loved my art, and he was like, I really would love you to do it. And I said, I'm not a graphics artist, but you know what, you seem really keen, and if I'm ever gonna make art for someone, I have like a 100% policy that I'm either gonna smash it out the park or I'm not gonna sell it to you. Like, I'm not gonna charge you for something that isn't amazing in my eyes. So I said that to him, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll draw you something. And again, it was pretty quick. I think I finished his graphics in like 3 days. And I sent them to him, and I think that night or the day after, he did a Mario Kart Wii stream. And I just happened to be awake because my sleeping patterns were pretty much screwed. I would go to bed at like 10 p.m. I'd wake up at, say, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, find it impossible to get back to sleep, and then eventually pass out like a few hours later. So I was awake, and he tweeted saying that he was streaming, so I thought, oh, you know what, I'll just go and pay my respects because I made this guy a layout and I want to see how he likes it. And when I clicked on his stream, he was talking about it, and he was saying the nicest things. He was so super sweet, and he, like, I could tell that he loved it, and nothing melts my heart more than when I do something for someone and they really appreciate it. And it just felt so good. And I was talking to him in his chat, and he just seemed really happy to have me there. And after like 10 minutes of watching him, I knew, wow, this guy is such a wholesome human being. He's so lovely and so easy to like be around, and he's a really like uplifting person. If you haven't seen Enmead's Twitch, he doesn't stream much nowadays because he's really busy with an internship, but oh my god, I'm so lucky to have Nick as a friend, because goddamn, he's such a lovely person. I can't say that enough. And he's been through like some crazy stuff as well. And one day I messaged him saying, you know, your streams have helped. Like, over the next few weeks I watched him a lot more. I watched pretty much all of his streams because I was just awake, and I was like, yeah, watching his streams, it's relaxing, he's a nice person to be around, it's a nice environment. And yeah, he's a Mario Kart Wii player, so a game that I love as well. And I messaged him saying, you know, thanks a lot, you really helped. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And I told him, look, I'm really proud to call you a friend. And it was really nice just talking to him, because it was, I don't know, he's just a really nice person to talk to. And that was, again, another reminder that, yeah, I can do things for people, and I can make other people happy despite the fact that I'm in this terrible place. And that sort of, it motivated me to get better. And jump forward a few more weeks. I sort of had like a couple more weeks of just being dead. But go forward to August 23rd. Like, when I was going through the summer, I had like short periods where I'd feel like okay for a few days, and then I'd just have weeks of just feeling bogged down and awful. One morning, August 23rd, I woke up at like 9 AM and I rang the GP. The GP is just the doctors in the UK. I'm not sure if they use that term all around the world, but if I say GP at any point, I mean the doctors. So I rang them up and I said, hey, is there any way I could speak to someone? I'm going through like really bad anxiety and stuff. And I was sort of expecting them to say, come back in a week. And admittedly, if they had said that, I probably would have said fine, but then not went or cancelled beforehand. But they actually said, oh yeah, sure, just come in at 11 o'clock this morning, there's a free slot. And in the moment I said, okay, and then I totally freaked out because I was like, oh my god, I have to leave the house in 2 hours, and I haven't left the house in 2 months. I'm not kidding, it was the end of August and I moved house on the 30th of June. So yeah, I hadn't left the house at all, and I was super scared. At this point, I spoke to my roommate. No, actually, I didn't speak to my roommate yet, I tweeted it. I tweeted it and I was freaking out, I was shaking, it was, oh my goodness, it was the most terrified I've ever been for anything, and it was just a doctor's appointment, I don't even get it. And my roommate liked it, and she has her own experience with mental health stuff, and she liked the tweet, so I knew she was awake, and I just said, can I have a hug? And she was like, yeah. and I hugged her, and then I just burst into tears. And I'm not much of a crier. I think I've cried in front of like less than 5 people in my entire life. I haven't even cried in front of my parents since I was like a baby. So that's how huge of a deal it was. And she came to my room and she was like, let's just talk. So I sort of just cried into her shoulders for like half an hour. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do with myself. And she sort of calmed me down. She said, look, it's okay. Do you want me to come with you to this appointment? So after a long chat, she was like, you know, you're doing the right thing. You're making a huge step that you wouldn't have been able to do, and you're going to get through this. And I was like, yeah, okay, come with me. So she came with me, and at 11 o'clock I met my GP. She was lovely, and she didn't seem judgmental of anything at all. And I'm really lucky in the sense that no one that I've spoken to about my anxiety has been judgmental about it. And everyone has been supportive, from my parents to like other family members to friends. Everyone has been so super great. And I'm always going to be lucky to have that. Like, I'm lucky to have so many amazing friends that care about me. And that it was just little things like that that were just silver linings to my crappy situation. So I spoke to my doctor and she said, okay, it sounds like going through anxiety and a really hard time. And I was also worried about it because it was the end of August and I started uni a month after. And I was very aware of this, and I was like, oh my god, if I don't get better in time for uni, I'm going to be screwed for my 3rd year. What happens if I have to take a year off, or, you know, something seriously wrong happens? So I was sort of urgent to just get help at that point. And speaking to her, you could tell that she knew what she was doing. I mean, of course she did, she was a professional, but she was very reassuring. She just asked me a few basic questions like, you know, what do you do? What are your interests? What keeps you happy? And I told her a few things, and she gave me a few goals. So she said, okay, you've had difficulty going out, try and go for a walk 4 times a week, and try and go out with friends once a week. Now, the going for walks, I was like, okay, I might be able to do that, but going out with friends, in my mind, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that. And yeah, that was what she sent me away with, and she said, come back in 2 weeks and tell me how you've got on. Now, I was with my roommate, and we bumped into one of my roommate's friends. Like, she's a massive social butterfly. Her name's Faye, by the way. So I was with Faye, and one of Faye's friends was there, and he was picking up, I don't know, something. He had an appointment as well, and bearing in mind this is someone I've never met before, he was telling me about like his mental health experiences, and he was really nice. Like, he even offered to give us a lift back home and stuff, and he gave me a lot of advice. He talked to me about medication, about like therapies, all sorts of things, and stuff like that. Like, serious professional help was stuff that I didn't know much about, because everything that I'd done was like self-help stuff, like meditation and breathing and yoga and whatever. So that was really nice to have someone else's perspective on it. And me personally, I've always found it easier to talk about mental health with other people that have gone through mental health issues, no matter what they are. It's always easier to speak to someone that's gone through something similar, because as terrible as it is, there's a stigma in society that people with mental health issues don't really have problems and it's just all in their head, and that's not true. And that's something that, as a society, we need to get rid of that stigma, because it's not the case. People with mental health, generally, they do need help, and it sucks that, you know, sometimes people look down upon because of something that, it doesn't downgrade you as a person either. It's just a health issue, like anything else. But anyway, going back to the topic, 2 weeks later, I managed to go out once. I went on a walk once over the 2 weeks. Bearing in mind that I was meant to go out 8 times over the 2 weeks, I managed to go for a walk once over the 2 weeks. And in terms of going out with friends, no, that was a no-go. Bearing in mind I could barely leave the house, and I hadn't met up with friends properly in ages, like, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I saw her again, and she said, how did it go? Tell me what's going on with you. And I said, look, you're going to be disappointed in me, but blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, 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 I'm not disappointed in you. Don't be hard on yourself. And you managed to go out once, that's better than no times. And that's true. If you set goals for yourself, which you should, set little goals for yourself, don't beat yourself up if you don't meet them. You know, I set, away from mental health illness stuff, I set a lot of goals for myself, and sometimes I don't meet them. Like, I'll shoot for the moon, and sometimes I'll land back on Earth. But it's okay. Like, try again tomorrow. Like, it's not the end of the world if you don't go out 4 times a week and you just manage to go out once. Because even the intention of making progress is better than nothing at all. And that's the thing that I learned, was small steps are important. But the steps are too small for my liking, and she said, you know, you're fed up of this now, I can tell, and it's been how many months was it? 6 months at that point, that I couldn't live my normal life, and 6 months is a long time. Like, I forgot what it was to live like a normal human being. I just felt ill all the time. So she prescribed me with medication. If you're curious, what I'm currently on is sertraline, and I've been on that for 5 weeks now, 5 weeks tomorrow, and it's been such a huge help. And there's a massive stigma around medication for mental health illnesses as well. Trust me, oh my god, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for that medication. And it was something that I couldn't have solved without it. Like, I'm so thankful for that. And if anyone says, you know, oh, you're on drugs, you're weak or whatever, no. I'm really, really strong because I got through this and I powered through, and I'm living my life better. And I'm not ashamed to say, oh yeah, I have to take meds for my anxiety, because I can do everything else that I would do in my life, and I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for my meds. So yeah. And one thing she did say when she prescribed them to me was, things will get worse probably before they get better. And this only applies to my specific meds. It changes from person to person. Some people don't have any side effects, but for me, they hit me like a goddamn truck. So I started taking meds on September 6th. The day I took meds, and I hadn't eaten anything beforehand, so I took my meds and then I had a bowl of oatmeal. My stomach was literally, it felt like disgusting for the entire day. Like, I could not get out of bed. And for the next 7 days, I could not get out of bed, and I couldn't eat anything except for like oatmeal and bread. I had to get Faye to buy me a loaf of bread, and Faye was so good at taking care of me. Like, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have eaten a lot of days if it wasn't for her, because she, like I said, she went out to the store and bought me bread, which seems like a simple thing, but you know, for me that was literally like the difference between life and just sleeping all the time. And yeah, so for the first week I could pretty much only drink water and eat bread, and it was horrid, but you know, it was what it was, because my stomach just couldn't take any more than that. It would just make crazy noises and I was just feeling awful. The second week, bearing in mind these meds take around a fortnight to have the full effect. So the second week, I felt a bit better. I was still in bed every single day. But, you know, I didn't beat myself up about it, because I knew, you know, this is meant to be happening, and after this point is over, it will get better from here. Which was a lot better than, you know, waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, is today going to be another terrible day? When's it going to end? Which is what I had for so long. And for the second week, I started being able to eat more stuff, and Faye cooked for me quite a bit. And, yeah, she was honestly an angel. Like, she's taken such good care of me when I've needed her. And yeah, in general, she's just been great at helping me out with stuff. So thank you, Faye, best roommate ever. But yeah, so that was the first 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, my GP said, come back, see me, I want to see how you've been getting on. So I was still a bit sort of meh after 2 weeks. I only got out of bed to go to the GP, but I spoke to her and I said, I am feeling better. Like, I don't feel as bad. Like, my symptoms were still, you know, crappy, but I could feel them changing. Like, I knew they were a side effect as opposed to just like an anxiety sickness feeling, which was good. And when I was describing that, even though I was like, oh yeah, I still have symptoms, she was like, oh yeah, but you're smiling, like you're actually, like, you look like you're improving. And I was like, well, I don't feel like I'm improving, but clearly I am if I'm smiling, because that's something that I haven't done in a very long time. And what did I do? I went back home, and she said, yeah, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks for it to fully kick in. So, yeah, like I said, I've been on it for 5 weeks now, so I'm almost at the 100% mark. I wouldn't say I'm fully there, but I'm like 90% of the way there. And since the 4-week mark, wait, when did I go out to uni? I went back to uni around the 3-week mark. And, I still had trouble with a few things. Like, it's a half-an-hour walk between my house and university. And, I didn't feel well enough to do that, so I just got Ubers in the first few days. And I still managed to turn up to pretty much everything. I only missed 1 day after the first week, and since then I've been present to everything since. Which is more than I can say for most students, even the ones that are well. So, that was good for me. Like, uni is super, super important to me. If you know me, you'll know that. I'm a super hard worker, and I love my degree, I love what I do. And, you know, being able to do that and turn up to lectures and go to labs and stuff was really important to me. So that felt good. And then the 4-week mark, well, at the weekend actually, the first time I went out was about a week ago, and we went to the cinema. And obviously it's a really casual going out thing to do, and I felt like it was a good starting point. Like, my roommate, one of my other roommates, my roommate Amog, he said, hey, let's go to the cinema. So 4 of us went. So my friend Amog, my friend Dasha, and my third roommate Dan, we went to see the new Kingsman film, which was really good, by the way. Would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. And yeah, it was such a good movie. But even like beyond that, like at random points during the film, I was like, I feel okay. And I sort of had to like think to myself, like, wow, I'm sitting here, I'm watching a movie, and I'm actually enjoying myself. I don't feel stressed, I don't feel sick, my heart's fine, my head's fine. And that just felt really good, and that's something that I've always taken for granted. And I think that's something that you should take for granted. I think that, you know, if you're happy, then yeah, you should be able to enjoy it. Like, everyone should be able to lead a normal life, and it sucks that I wasn't able to. And I know that so many people go through the same thing. A lot of people go through it a lot worse than I did. But, you know, getting help was the best thing I have ever done, the best decision I've ever made, despite the fact it was super hard, and I had to go through that horrible 2 weeks of transitioning. And I'm not saying that everyone has to go on meds, like, it worked for me, different things work for different people. For some people, therapy is great, for others, meds work. There are so many ways of professional help out there, and there's no shame in it. I've done it, and I'm proud to talk about it. I'm talking about it here on my YouTube channel, and I would happily talk about it in front of anyone, because, like, people deserve to be happy, and people deserve to be loved despite what they're going through. And yeah, I'm happy to say that I'm doing way better. I'm going to uni, I'm going outside, I'm not second thinking everything I do. I'm not like, oh, am I well enough to go to the shops, or am I well enough to, you know, stay in uni an extra few hours. I just do it, and I feel good about it. And yeah, like, I've been getting back into streaming and stuff. Twitch is always in my description, but when I have time, I'm gonna try and stream. But I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, like I said, 5-week mark today. Next week will be the 6-week mark, and you know, I'm back on my feet pretty much, which is really nice, because I don't know, it just feels good to be me again. And I've been recording for 47 minutes. I think that's the longest I've ever talked on a vlog before. I just got carried away. I'm gonna have to edit a lot of this, I'm guessing, but yeah, if you've listened to the end, thank you. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you learned something from this video. Whether it's, you know, just educating yourself on what anxiety really is, or I don't know, if you just wanted to listen to someone that's gone through a similar experience, or if you just want to know about where I've been and what I've been going through. That's basically it, in a very, very, very large nutshell. But yeah, minor update on what I'm going to be doing with my YouTube channel. I'm going to bring back Dragon Quest 7. I've started recording on it, but they are going to be super long episodes, so I want to take my time with them and do them, you know, when I have energy. As opposed to like when I'm home from uni, like right now, and basically falling asleep. And also, if you stuck around till the end, and if you like this spam shop shirt, stick around and check out TWD98's Twitter. I'll have it linked in the description. There's going to be a fun announcement tomorrow as well. So stay tuned for that. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.